before we get started with today's episode, let me give you the brief overview of what Pathmark is all about. Pathmark is the AI tool for website conversions. With increasing online competition, more than 98% of all website visitors simply don't convert, right? No matter how much ads, SEO, and whatever you do, 98% of your visitors simply don't convert. So the ability to successfully show them your value proposition and support visitors throughout the buyer's journey separates you from the competition online. So Pathmark qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, introduction videos, and much more. So you can stay relevant to the journey of your visitor, fully automatically run by AI, and increase conversions by plus 50%. Simply add the JavaScript snippet to your website, let the AI do all the work, and get access to 50% more leads from your website. Check it out on Pathmark. In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I got a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Ashok Azhagarasan, who is hailing over from the folks over at OSS Ventures. They run a super interesting model. They help the manufacturing space to basically get up to speed with the latest technology, and basically they launch companies out there into the wild with those providers. I will basically, don't want to take away too much. He will give us an exact insight how the model works, how they're thinking about growth, and how then ultimately they help their partners to grow the company. So welcome to the show, Ashok.
Thanks a lot, Lucas.
Yeah, sure. So maybe give people like an overview. Maybe many haven't heard yet about the model that you're running. So maybe give people a quick overview.
Sure. So I'm Ashok. I'm the head of growth at OSS Ventures. We are a startup studio and an investment firm. We've launched about 20 startups in the last 4 years, and we are deployed in 1,800 factories, and we have around 80,000 active users. The way we work is basically we go into factories, we identify pain points, and then we kind of see whether certain specific pain points can be digitalized with a SaaS solution. And then we launch a startup. So we take about 25% of the share, and we recruit a CTO and a CEO, and they have the majority stake of 75%. And we co-build the startup with them. So we have a cohort process internally, and we have internal capabilities of product, tech, growth / go-to-market, as well as UX design. And we co-build the solution with them. And we have a lot of repeatable assets. We have around 800 clients internally that we can call them tomorrow to identify whether there is a pain and whether they're willing to pay for the solution or not. And then once we identify it, we invest $500,000 cash as well as resources into the startup to co-build the solution with them.
Very cool. Very clear model. Like, how do you find your founders?
We have around 8,000 people applying per year.
Mm-hmm.
And we list them, and we recruit around 20 out of the 8,000.
Mm-hmm.
And about half, we have a success rate about 50%.
Awesome. Very good.
We work with them.
And do you launch like one company a year, or is that more? Like, what should be?
We launch about 4 to 5 a year
Okay.
in the studio, in the startup studio, as well as we try to invest in 2 to 3 a year.
Gotcha. Makes a whole lot of sense. So that means you would be working with those organizations then as a head of growth, I would say.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Internally, we build the go-to-market strategy along with the founders.
Tell me then a little bit like what type of channels, what type of growth strategies do you guys typically apply?
In the beginning, we don't actually have a brand, or we don't actually have a website.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to start from scratch, building the website, building the visuals, and the bare bones sales deck.
Mm-hmm.
Then show it to the clients, as well as we have a Figma screen. We can show them the prototype of the startup, and then we're like, is this something that they would be willing to co-build? Is this something that interests them? And the last thing is we validate the model, whether they're willing to pay for it. And the idea is, in the initial phase, is to find 2 to 3 co-constructors to co-build this solution with them.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we do all the basic outbound channels, initially doing a lot of cold calling and cold outreaches to different segments of the market, so that we can validate the same problem exists in different sectors. So we don't want to build something just for one single sector, like the luxury or the aeronautic, but rather we validate the model saying like, okay, the same problem exists in different sectors. And also we validate it in different sizes of the company as well. There's in enterprise, SMBs, as well as family-owned businesses. And then we kind of try to go build the go-to-market. What's the strategy internally to get to 1 million or 500K ARR? And what's the long-term strategy in terms of building content, SEO, and what are the channels that we can test?
Gotcha. What role does the website usually play in those growth strategies? Like in this market, is usually, growth through the website like key? Is it like, is it content-driven growth usually? Is it sales-driven growth? Like tell us a little bit about that.
It's pretty much in the initial phase, it's 100% sales-driven growth. And in the manufacturing industry, they don't actually go search for keywords. And SEO is very little. It's good for awareness, but the actual decision maker rarely uses content. We can maybe push content from the website with emails, but it's heavily sales-based and heavily cold-based as well. Because most of the whole sector, the maturity is around 40% right now in Europe. So they're not really mature and they don't know that they don't know.
Mature toward like tech solutions, you say?
Yeah, digitalized solutions. They're used to the whole ERP model where they choose one big brick ERP, which takes about 5 years for implementation. And that's the maturity of the ecosystem. So to use a SaaS solution, which can be implemented in a couple of weeks, we need to show them how it's done and also to reinsure them that it exists.
Very good. Very good. So very interesting. Like, tell me a little bit more. How did you guys get into that space? Like, what was sort of, is that the reason, like the 40% digitalization rate that made it interesting for you guys? Or tell us a little bit more about it.
It's basically founder-led. Our founder is Renan de Villar, and he has about 8 years of experience in manufacturing space as a director in the luxury sector. So he's been working in the supply chain as well as the factory level and in the strategic departments in the luxury sector. And he understood the digitalization as well as the tech-enabled solutions existing in the market in the manufacturing space. And he launched his own startup in AI in the tech ecosystem, which he sold to in San Francisco. So since he has an idea of both worlds, when he made his exit, he wanted to launch a startup solution where he can invest in startups in the manufacturing space. And he saw that it was a lot of hardware solutions, but very little SaaS and very little software for specific bricks. Just to give you an idea, like most of the solutions that we launched, they don't actually have a direct interpreter. It's usually an Excel file that we are competing against.
Yeah.
Apart from the
type of problems, like tell us a little bit about the types of problems that you guys are tackling for those manufacturers. There might be a lot of problems if you're launching 4 to 5 companies.
Exactly. So one of the main fundamental issues is people related. If you go into any factory, in terms of white collar workers, they have a career path and they have an MBA program and it's pretty defined. It's pretty structured. But in terms of blue collar workers working for 30, 40 years in the same factory, what's the pay structure? What's the skills structure? You ask them, okay, do you have a skill matrix? It's like, yeah, we do for the HR. And it's updated every 6 months, but it's never actively used by the manager. And if you go to any factory floor, you ask the manager, it's like, okay, who can use this machine? It's like, oh, it's in my head. And in Europe, as well as in the US, the average age of shop floor workers is around 35 years. So in the next 5 years, they need to digitalize this aspect so that they have a contingency plan of like the retirement plan as well. Okay, this person is going to retire in the next 3 years. What's the roadmap that I can transfer his skills to the next intern, so that as well as if in terms of planning the posts, they're like, okay, everything is done in Excel. We're like, okay, if we digitalize this aspect in terms of a group level who have like 13 or 15 factories, they have a clear vision of what's their workforce planning. And they can go on a more granular detail. Right now, they have that on Excel file, but they have zero data coming in from the shop floor because that doesn't exist. So we are trying to create a bridge between the strategic level as well as the operation level.
Makes sense. And go ahead.
Yeah, another solution that we created, you go to any factory floor, you have a whiteboard with problems like Post-its, which is like, oh, this is the problem resolution management, which is like the basis of lean. So we digitalize that aspect. So the next time the same problem comes 6 months later, they're not using a Post-it, but they already have a database. So that it's like, oh, this problem was resolved in this factory 2 years ago. This is the resolution. So that they have a single source of truth or resolution problem, as well as it's not siloed in just one factory.
Gotcha. So does that mean the manufacturers have to have a certain, like, what was the minimum size of a manufacturer that could be benefiting from your solutions?
We try to work at least with 500 FTE up to 10,000. But we also work with small family-owned businesses. It depends on the maturity of the startup as well. For example, we created an energy management system just for SMBs and smaller companies, because the bigger ones already have an energy manager and an energy management system. So it really depends on the solution. And we have some which are enterprise focused and some which are really family owned business focused.
Very cool. So if people head over to OSS Ventures /portfolio, they can see the types of companies you're building.
Exactly.
Which one do you personally put on the highest bets? Like, where do you feel like this is the strongest case or the strongest cases?
For us, it really depends. I think all of them have a clear focus and clear need. And they have a validated market need. It just depends on the maturity of the startup. Like the startups that we built 4 years ago are now a 80, 100 people company. And of course, they have real market validation and a brand. Whereas the smaller ones who are just leaving the studio have a validated market need, but they're not that well known.
Makes sense. Very cool. Then I would like to switch gears a little bit and talk about yourself a little bit. I have some question that I would like to know, which is sort of now with all these companies that you guys are supporting, how does a typical day of yours personally look like? What do you do on a level every day?
I'm split between the marketing actions for OSS Ventures, as well as the 2 to 3 startups we support internally. So it's about 25%, and it really depends on the week. And we also help actively the startups who are outside, which are part of the portfolio, but who are outside of the office as well, in terms of the strategic departments and challenging them on their marketing and growth strategies.
Very, very good. Awesome. So then I have some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for you today. Are you ready for those?
Yeah.
What is the last book that you read?
Built.
What is one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Being customer centric, as well as becoming a financial institution.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what would be the one single thing that you would fix for your role as a marketer today?
Structuring the data and killing all the Excel.
Nice. Very good. And for the very last question, if today would be your very first day at OSS Ventures, what's the one advice you would give yourself for the journey?
I would say go into factories and go talk to the customers first, and to have as much info as possible before even thinking about the strategy.
Very cool. Now, maybe for people who are interested, in which countries are you guys active? Where are your solution being used? Are we talking the US? Are we talking the UK? Are we talking France, Germany? Where are you guys?
We are about like 40% in Europe and 60% pretty much all over the world. We're deployed in 47 countries across the world.
Awesome.
In about 2,000 factories.
Awesome. Ashok, I really appreciate you took the time to us today and show a bit about the world of OSS. So thanks a lot for being a guest on Path Marketers.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, and it was a pleasure.